This is Allison and I'm here with the Baby Lock Flare. The Flare is one of Baby Lock's embroidery-only machines and it's the sister machine to the Baby Lock Vesta. The embroidery features are the same on both machines, so let's take a look at what those are. The Flare has an embroidery field of 10¼ by 6¼ inches. It's Wi-Fi compatible, it has 293 different built-in stitches and 14 different fonts. It also has the color sort feature and will trim your jump stitches. So when we go to the machine, we can see all of these different exclusive designs and they're categorized by type of design that they are. We're going to sort through and grab this one with the fish. And as you can see, I can move my design around my screen using my stylus, my finger, or I can use the move buttons here that are built into the editing features. Wherever I move my design is where I'm asking the machine to place the design in my hoop. And the machine is going to let me know which hoop size is going to allow my design to be stitched there. The machine also has built into its settings a way for you to see where the outline of a 5x7 would be. So if I want to make sure that my design fits in a 5x7 hoop, I turn on this box and wherever I place my design inside of that box, it will fit in the 5x7 hoop. That is in the settings and I can actually turn that off or change it to any different size of hoop that I would like. I can recenter the design using the move key. And I can also mirror image and rotate my design by 10 degrees, 90 degrees, or 1 degree. And then I can reset the design back to its original position. Now we can also add as many designs as we would like to. I'm going to add another of the same design, the fish, because what we're going to see is the color sorting feature. When we're ready to stitch, I can touch this button, and even though we have two designs that are exactly the same, what this is going to allow us to do is stitch the same part of the design at one time. So that way we can cut back on the number of times that we have to change our embroidery thread as the design stitches. So we can see the order of stitching. It's going to stitch out the white parts of this design and this design before I have to change my thread to the sky blue, which is going to stitch out two sections of the sky blue, one in the top and one in the bottom. Now we're going to take off one of the fish because we are going to actually start working with the font editing features. The font editing features in this machine are pretty robust and they're a lot of fun to work with. So let's go to the fonts and use one of the 14 different fonts that we have. And as you can see, we have capital letters, lowercase, numbers, and punctuation. And I'm going to start adding. Now it's going to default to using the largest size font that we have. And as I add to this, it's going to let me know when I've gotten to the maximum width of the hoop. So now it says the pattern extends outside of the embroidery display. Please rotate at 90 degrees. So it will rotate at 90 degrees, but I'm actually going to delete the second word and we're going to add a second line, which this machine allows us to do without taking anything to a separate computer or software. So we're going to add this second line and I'm going to keep typing. And then I'm going to add a third line and it lets me know here with this number which line of text I'm on. Now I can change the size of the font here, large, medium, or small, and then I can set my font. And this is how it's going to come up since we rotated at 90 degrees. Now I can go back in and change the size of my fonts using the size option. Large, medium, and small, and I'm going to change each one of these. I'm going to change swimming to small and then increase the size just a little bit. And remember, for any of your sizing, you can increase the design by 20% or decrease the size of the design by 10% without having to take it to separate software. So I'm going to rotate my words around 90 degrees. And I can align them as I please. And I can, remember, use that move tool, or I can use my stylus. The move tool allows me to be a little bit more precise in my movements. So we can multicolor each letter. I can also array the words that we have, and that's going to give me a little curve in either direction, and I can increase the size of that curve, or I can decrease the size of the curve. We can stair step our letters or give us a more extreme curve in either direction. And then I can reset it back to straight. We can also choose to expand the words and add a little bit more space, or we can bring them closer together, and then we can also reset it back to its original. I can also go and change the font. So if I have everything where I like it, but I'm not sure that that font is what I'm really in love with, I can go in and change it, and I can change it on each line. So we're going to change all of them to this. One of the other features I love is I can work with one letter at a time. So if I want the first letter of a word to really stand out, I can go to that word and I can increase the size of just the one letter that I would like to be bigger. So for this one, I worked with the S and made it as large as it would go. And I can do the same thing with each word in my row. Now, the other feature that I really like about the font editing is this, where we can separate different letters as well. So if I have a word that I want to change the font in the first two letters and keep the second two letters the same, I can do that. If we go to keep, I can move my knife, and that's going to separate that word into two different designs, so I can work with these designs independently of each other. And then I can go back to my move tool and move it exactly where I want it to be. When I'm ready to take a look at how my design is going to stitch out and how it's going to fit in my hoop, I touch this button, and this is how my design is going to stitch out. I can take a look at it with the hoop surrounding it, or zoomed in a little bit and just see my design. And then when I love the way that this is going to stitch, I'm going to save it to my machine so that I can bring it back and stitch it out as many times as I like. Now we're ready to stitch. Now, in order to make sure that we are getting our stitches and our design lined up exactly where we want, the machine will show us where this design is going to stitch. So I can choose this button, and it's going to use my needle to show me the outer boundary of my design. That's exactly where my machine is going to stitch, and if I need to see where one of the corners is, I can ask the machine to move there, and where my needle is gives me that top corner, which correlates with where my crosshair is on my screen. And I can ask it for any of these points that are on the front of the machine. And then we're ready to stitch.